Hello, dog mamas. This is Dana Brigman from the Canine Coach Carolinas, expert in dog training and animal wellness. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the things that we can do that will really help you keep your dog healthier and ideally have them stay with us a bit longer in their lives. So I want you to ask yourself, what would you do to keep your dog healthy? Take a look now at your little four-legged furry. I have 3 of them here with me. And ask yourself that question. What would you do to keep them healthy? And I know that the answer you're giving your dog right now is, I would do anything. I would do anything to keep you healthy. And that was my answer as well. I thought that I was doing everything that I could. Good veterinarians, expensive food, medications when they needed it, exercise, a good home. I really thought I was doing everything well. And unfortunately, I fell short more than once. I didn't realize that there were some things that I could be doing better. As I came to experience the loss of more than one dog over the years and start to see the declining health of many of my clients, I started asking myself, what are we missing? What else can we be doing? There should be something more that we can be doing. And the answer is there is. We just didn't know. We just didn't have the right information available to us. So I want to share with you 5 things that you can begin changing today that will make a difference in your dog's quality of life and ideally the time he has with you. These things don't have to break the bank, and they don't have to be crazy, confusing, or overwhelming. I know that we can't control everything. I know that God is in control of everything that happens to all of us, and we can't change that. At some point, our dogs will leave us and move on. But while they're here, there are a number of things that we can do a whole lot better. I think we've been misled. In some cases, I think we've been lied to. And this comes from food companies, supplementation companies, vaccine companies, product manufacturers. Some cases, veterinarians might not be telling us the whole truth or a different truth. Maybe they're telling the truth as they have been taught, but maybe there's more. Maybe there are things that we need to learn to do differently. I think groomers, trainers, I think a lot of people in this profession are doing the best they can, the best they know how, but we're not necessarily digging deep enough until we're faced with a crisis of our own that we have to try to figure out, what else can I do? And that's where I was, right? That's where I stepped into all of this, looking for answers. So then it becomes, well, then who do you listen to? There's a ton of noise out on Facebook. There's a ton of misinformation out on Google. We sometimes put, a question in a Facebook forum, and it's the equivalent, in my opinion, of getting your mama's hairdresser's boyfriend's grandma to answer your question. Now, she might be an expert, but the chances of that in some of these Facebook groups is pretty slim. What we often find is somebody who had an experience and they tried some things for their dog, but that didn't necessarily take into consideration your dog and the unique circumstances and the unique factors that might come into play, and where their answer may not be yours. So where do you go? Who do you listen to? Right? We mentioned that we know greed and profits get in the way. We know that our veterinarians are taught by the manufacturers of the products they provide us, right? Sometimes that information isn't accurate, or at least not fully. And I'll explain that as we move forward together in our programs. But who's making the money at this? It's these marketing engines and the manufacturers of this. And so you're starting to see examples of that now in the new branding or the new marketing of dog foods, for example. Meat is the first real ingredient. Well, what else does that label tell you? Because there are some hidden secrets in there that may lead you down a path of understanding, once you know how to read these labels, a path of understanding that says, while it's listed as the first single ingredient as a protein source, you might actually find that there is significantly more plant protein in the bag than meat. So that's a risk, right? Our dogs need to eat meat. But more importantly, are we being misled by what's written on those labels? We look at them and we see balanced vitamins and minerals, right? The percentage of those vitamins and minerals that we're supposed to have for our animals. But did you know most of what's in that bag is synthetic? And so your dog may not actually be absorbing the vitamins and minerals appropriately. He could be walking around with a deficiency in the essential minerals and vitamins that he needs to really thrive, right? So sometimes we find ourselves with minimum requirements, which is all that's required to be in the bag, and not necessarily resources that actually achieve ideal or better than ideal, right? Don't we want the best, not the minimums? So that's an important thing for you to start to understand. And who's suffering when all this marketing nonsense is going on? Your dog. Your dog's the one suffering. And then so will you when he becomes unwell and perhaps leaves us due to things that maybe we could have done differently. So isn't the goal really that our dogs grow really old with us, but that they're healthy doing so, that they're not miserable with joint health issues and disease and emotional stressors and all the things that we look at aging today and say, well, that's just part of the process, or he's a senior citizen. Did you know we call senior citizen in the dog space around 7 to 8 years old? 7 to 8 years old. So my dog's going to be a senior citizen for 7 to 10 years, maybe longer. What if he feels bad at 7 years old because his body hurts or he's got deficiencies, and yet we then get on a better plan and we can extend his wellness, we can extend his life? Wouldn't that be ideal? But wouldn't it be better if we start those things as early as possible? Most people wait until they find themselves desperate. Most people wait until they find themselves in pain, the pain associated with looking at the wellness of our dog fade. We look at that dog, we look at him, and we see him slipping away little by little because he's aging or he's becoming unhealthy. While we look and see many things possible, what if we had started sooner? Could we maybe have not gotten ourselves into that situation at all? And I think the answer is yes, in most cases. I look around and I think we are seeing more problems than ever. As I reflect back to being really young, I didn't see all of these issues. Now, I've been around dogs my entire life, and not just, the one or two that I had growing up, but lots of people's dogs. And I don't remember all of this aggression and all of this reactivity and all of this resource guarding of the food bowl or fighting other dogs in the pack. Did it happen sometimes? Yeah, but not to the degree that I see as a trainer. Now, I think there's some educational components associated with that, but what I know now is that there is also a wellness factor involved in that. A lot of wellness contributes to the behaviors that we're seeing in our dogs. We can also look at the disease that we're starting to see. Numbers will tell you that about 50% of our dogs will be exposed to or have or die from cancer. Some numbers tell us that that is slightly higher than 50%, right? That it's more like 1.6 dogs out of 2. That's a big number, y'all. That's more than 50%. So with all the improved nutrition and all the new improved medication and all the new improved studies, why aren't we getting ahead of this thing instead of seeing it continue to creep up? I think we know some of the answers, or at least some of the efforts we should be trying to put into place to mitigate that. We also see a lot of dogs with blown out knees. Certainly as part of the aging process, we see dogs who experience some vision loss. We're seeing dogs with really bad teeth, stinky breath, right? We get joint issues. We have skin conditions like never before. Red, hot, itchy, scratchy skin. I get this call from my clients all the time. They've tried every food they can think of. There are others that they might not know about, or they may feel are unaffordable, may feel they're out of the scope of their budget. But I can show you that there are ways to, if you get the food and the nutrition right, many of the other costs that we are experiencing as a result of these issues, or the solutions that we're trying to chase that do not work. So we try a different solution and we find that it might work for a little while, and then we're back to ground zero again with the same problem over and over. It's a vicious cycle. I can show you where when we get it right, we stabilize and we offset costs, and we find that it is far more affordable in the long run, right? It's a big deal. It's an important thing for us to learn. Many dogs are experiencing trouble digesting their food or absorbing the nutrients. We mentioned a little bit about some of the synthetic supplements, vitamins, minerals that are going into the foods, or that you are buying off the drugstore or grocery store shelf, that aren't working. A synthetic is never going to work as well as the natural. So we can work on those digestive issues. Remember, that's the first step to gut health, to getting everything else balanced and in order. So you've got information that is available. You just might not be reaching the right people to give you those answers and to put the entire story together for your dog. right? So this notion of chasing pieces and parts of the puzzle, we've got to turn that around. We've got to step back and start with the dog that stands before us today and look at what his body and his behavior tell us, because it tells a story. You might not know how to read that story yet. It might be in a language you don't fully understand, but there is a story that will lead us to the answers that will put these issues of all the kinds of things that you're seeing on the screen at a lesser risk. I see these things every day. I see them so often. I really want to make sure you understand that you're not alone in this. It may feel like it at times, but there are many people who are struggling with these same problems day in and day out. I know folks that have struggled with it for years. And when they finally find the right answers, they're like, I can't believe it was sort of this simple. I had a client not too long ago tell me that she would rather shorten her dog's life if it ended the misery he was in today, right? Because there are products out there that could do just that. There are products that basically trick the brain into believing the problem is not present. There are products that will suppress the immune system or perhaps create damage within the body. So we might be addressing an issue and we see a result today, but do we really understand the long-term implication of continued use of those products? Many people do not. And I want to start to teach you that. So who is this for? It's for you, dog mama, who's just like me. If you have a dog that is struggling with fear, anxiety, or even aggression, I had my mind blown completely when I put these pieces together. Of course, I had an educator of my own, many in fact, but when I started putting the pieces together of how what we eat, what we are exposed to, and how that may reside in the body for years to come can affect the behavior that we display to everyone else. This is true for people and for dogs, right? It's for you if you are fighting the daily struggle, or even what you perceive as the seasonal struggle of red, dry, itchy, hot skin issues. It's for you if you look at your dog's coat and it feels greasy, leaving almost residue on your hands after you've pet him. Or it's dull, it's brittle, the hair breaks, it's dry. It's for you and your dog. If your dog's poop isn't normal, now, I don't mean normal for what you experience with that dog, right? We see what we come to accept as normal, but is it normal? Is it regular? Does food go in and food come out? What does it look like when it comes out, right? Who's talking to you about your dog's poop? We need to, because there's an answer. There's part of that story we're talking about in the poop. It's for you if you are the dog mama like me who wants to do the very best you can for your beloved dog. And yet you question, am I doing enough? Did I do enough, right? We find ourselves in these situations, like I said to start, where we're trying to do the very best we know how, to do everything that we've been told, and we look up and at 8 years old, our dog is sick. really sick, and then we are desperate for answers. It's for you if you're worried about the budget and if you can really afford to do this. I too was in that position. I didn't think that I could afford to feed Great Danes. I had Great Danes at the time. I didn't think that I could afford to feed them this higher quality food, to move into these diets that are nutritionally balanced. I also was not happy about having to go out and source meat and measure and all that kind of stuff. And I've got options that you don't have to do that. It's for you if you're confused about the information showing up on Facebook and Google and from your mama's, hairdressers, boyfriend's, grandma, right? It's for all of us. It's for you if you're tired of the struggle, tired of wasting money on things that don't work. And every so often you're going out and trying one more new product. I'm going to try one more new thing. My friend told me this ought to work, and it doesn't. It's for you if you're tired of wishing that there was somebody that you could ask about your dog, that you could talk to and look at the specifics of your dog. So if you're ready to make a change, you're ready to learn, and you're ready for a coach that will be helpful to you and a community that will be helpful to you, then keep coming with us, right? What is it that you really want for your dog? Me, the answer is a healthy mind, body, and spirit, right? A lot of times I think we focus on keeping the body healthy. And I'm not sure that we've really established in today's language what that is. We often see a healthy dog until he's not. And we think, so was he healthy all along and then suddenly? No, he was getting unhealthy every step of the way. It is not just part of the aging process, guys. It is all of the things that we are feeding him. It is all of the things that are missing from his nutritional diet. It is all of the things that are being absorbed to or absorbed into his body in his home environment. It's the plug-ins, it's the air fresheners, it's the pesticides, it's the topicals, it's the medications that we sometimes use to fight the things that are going wrong in his body that further suppress the immune system. And we find ourselves in this circle where it works for a while and then it stops. And then we try something different. And that works for a while and then it stops. We can get ahead of this. We can do something better. So the 5 things that I think you should change today that will lead to changing everything include what you put in the food bowl, what you take out of his environment, how you manage his stress and yours. And yours. We'll come to that in a minute. What do you do to help detox and repair the body that stands before you today? Does it even need this? And what do you do with him for exercise and fun? So let's dig just a little deeper into this. And your bonus is going to be, we'll talk a little bit more about breed and gameplay. So what do you put in the bowl? We think that feeding him premium dog food, these expensive brands, is the right answer. I've shared with you a little bit already that it might not be, that we might be getting a dog who is kept alive with minimum standards. Now in the premium brands, ideally we're getting a little more than minimum, but are we getting things that will allow him to thrive? We think it's nutritious. it's probably missing vitamins and minerals. It's probably got something synthetic in it instead. We think this is going to help his condition, and it might for a little while. We think that it will not cause us to have an unwell dog, that the food won't create the disease. And unfortunately, it might. When we take a step back and we remember to talk about those labels, we have to see what's not on the label. And I will teach you how to read the label. If kibble is where we need to stay for your dog, and for some dogs, some people, some families, that might be the right answer, then what can we do to make sure it's as nutritious as possible on a budget as friendly as possible? But the issue that I'm mentioning here is we often read that label, and what we don't see detailed is exactly how much carbohydrate is in that bag. Are all carbohydrates bad? Not necessarily. For the most typical of dogs, not necessarily, but we need the right carbohydrates, right? We certainly don't need corn. We probably don't need potatoes. We don't need flours, Flour, not the pretty one. And we don't need a lot of carbohydrates, because that can cause inflammation in the body. That can cause part of this progression of damage to the cells of the body that could lead to disease. The missing vitamins and nutrients, those deficiencies, can lead to disease. So it's important that we learn to read the label, that we learn that there are people out there who want your money and who will make a great ad and creative documentation on the packaging to get you to spend money with them, right? So we got to learn how to do better than that. How do you manage his environment, right? This is a harsh word to say you poison your dog little by little every day, but you might be. If you continue to use canned fabric sprays, plug-in air fresheners, flea and tick topicals, even some of the lotions and potions that you put on your body that he absorbs into his skin when you pet him, could be a problem. Carpet cleaners, pesticides, herbicides that are out in our yard or your neighbor's yard, it all adds up. It all compounds to be damaging to the cells of the body. So we are creating overwhelm. We are still in a situation of, you look at the dog today and you're like, well, he looks healthy to me. He looks healthy. He's doing great. He's happy. Until the day he's not. Until the day that the camel's back breaks, because the cells of his body could no longer fight back. We're struggling with vaccine decisions. I struggled for a long time myself. Do I give them? Do I not? Do I really need them? Do I not? What happens to the dog's body when I give a vaccine? Did you know there are things that you can do? If you have to have the vaccine, there are things that you can use naturally to support the organs of the body as it processes the receiving of those vaccines and the waste management of those vaccines. There are things that we can teach you to do. It's scary to think about using a vaccine that could be really detrimental to your dog's health. I am not anti-vaccine. That is not what I'm telling you. I know that we need to protect our dogs from parvo and distemper and rabies. I know that. But do we need to vaccinate them again? If they have been vaccinated, are they protected for life? And the answer is maybe, probably. And the only way we know that is with a different type of test called a titer. And so if we can titer and it shows that our dog is creating the antibodies that they need and that they are therefore protected against that disease, why vaccinate them again? Sometimes the answer is the law says we have to. So we as dog mamas need to get on board with some of these holistic and veterinarians who have really taken to heart this notion of do no harm to the animal and fight back against the laws that have existed just because they're the law. We need to get that stuff changed. And we, you and I, can be part of the voice to do that. If you are still using topical or oral flea and tick medications, I urge you to stop today. There are natural products that you can use. And remember, I told you I would tell you about places for cost savings. This is one of them. When we get the food right and the supplementation right, you probably don't need the flea and tick topicals or orals anyway. You might occasionally in the summer if you're going for a hike in the woods, but you have a natural solution to do that. And I'll tell you what that is. If you are using today plug-ins, fabric sprays, candles with, frankly, folks, candles that smell like pumpkin spice or things of that nature, that's not a natural scent that we put in a wax candle product. They're synthetic. They are carcinogens. They can lead to this damage to the cells of the body that I keep talking about. It will compound and add up over time. Even if you replace them with nothing, don't use these synthetic products. They are detrimental to your dog's health and to your own. How do you deal with stress? I have a lot of clients that they call looking for help with dogs with anxiety, whether it's separation anxiety, fear of strangers, fear of thunder, fear of a balloon moving in the house, whatever it may be. And for a long time, we accept that's just who he is. We accept that something in his past created this fear. That might be trauma, guys. It might be, it's a bigger deal than you think. Living with stress and anxiety is known to shorten our lives. It creates problems in our body, right? So I encourage you not to accept that fear and anxiety just is, or that that's who your dog is. There are things that we can do that will unlock that and perhaps move him forward. And part of it means that you have to move forward, that you have to start believing a new story. You have to believe that it can be changed and not hold him in the past with your own thought patterns and your own way of treating him. If we change the story, the future will be quite different. So what do you do about detox and repair? You wonder, is it necessary? Is this just the trendy thing? Is it somebody's way of trying to sell a new product? What does it mean to detox? I believe, with everything that I know now, that we absolutely should attempt to cleanse and detox the digestive systems, the gut health, the emotions that we're holding on to for the animals and us. I think this is something we all need to do. And there are techniques that will help us do this. There are products and energy work, and the combination of these things together can be extremely powerful. So the answer is, I think it kind of got trendy for a while in some ways. This is what happens in Facebook land with your mama's hairdresser's boyfriend's grandma, right? They hear a buzzword and they hook onto it, and it's like, oh, everybody needs to do that. But are you doing it effectively? Are you doing it wisely? And with what frequency? Is it a one-time thing? How do I know when it's done, right? And then how often do I need to perhaps repeat it in the future? These are all things that will be part of what you and I can work with together. What do you offer as exercise? So I have people tell me all the time on the dog training questionnaire or in some of the groups that I support, well, he's got 5 acres out in the backyard and he's outside all day. That's probably not the kind of exercise that he needs, right? Is it sustained release of activity? Is it mentally stimulating? Is it appropriate for the breed, right? Is he out getting into mischief or laying under the tree and doing nothing most of the day? More importantly, is it with you, right? What are the two of you doing together that brings joy and fun and activities that stimulate that body, mind, and spirit? That's going to be helpful for both of you. And then as we stay in that sort of exercise thought, one of the things that I share with my clients all the time is, who is your dog, right? It's not the dog we've accepted is filled with anxiety, but who would he be if we peeled back all the layers and found authenticity? A lot of that is nested in the breed. Now we know that we can't always just look at the breed, the body, and say, well, he's all whatever, unless we know the lineage, unless we know the genetic breeding line, right? But we have a good idea. So if you've got a Labrador puppy that isn't driving you crazy, and instead he's found somewhere to lay down on top of the air conditioner vent for, 20 out of 24 hours of the day, something's off, right? Something's off if he's not active and boisterous and into a lot of stuff, because that's what Labrador puppies do. So if we're missing what he is designed to do from his daily lifestyle, because he has expressed no interest in it and he's showing a lot of the opposite of what we think he ought to be doing, something's off. And it could be as simple as his nutrition. It could be as simple as looking at some of this detox work for the emotional side of things or the physical side of things. What brings him joy? What makes him happy? We sometimes have the opposite of this too, right? We have dogs that should be a little calmer, and yet they are agitated. They seem to show us a difficulty learning. They seem frustrated. And yet we look at the standard of the breed, if you will, and say, he should be smarter than this, right? So we have to look at that, and that all ties back into the story the dog's body will tell us. And when we can reflect on all these things and put pieces of the puzzle together, then we can come up with a better game plan. Of course, that game plan is going to include veterinary care when we need it, blood work when we need it. You know, this is not about replacing veterinary care. That's not it at all. But it's about taking a step back and seeing your dog through a different lens of information and coming up with a game plan that is going to really support growing old healthier. It's going to support trying to help recover from some of the issues you may be experiencing today. So I don't want you to wait. I want you to take action now. And that action is about just meeting with me. And I'm not charging folks to do that. It's a conversation, some questions, a discussion, and from there, you can figure out if you want to move forward with me or not. But the key about making these changes to the nutrition, to the elimination of synthetic products, to getting exercise, to getting stress under control, to get all of those things on the right path, it matters that you start as soon as possible. Because again, you could be looking at a dog that today appears quite healthy, and tomorrow you are completely knocked off your feet to find that he has a disease you did not see coming. So who am I? This is me and my 3 dogs. Huey, Howie's in my lap, and Poppy is the pit bull. I was just like you, a dog mama that started seeing my own, they've passed now, but other dogs become unwell, and my clients become unwell as a dog trainer at a high rate. And I'm like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. And so I started learning and digging into information and taking a lot of classes and a lot of programs that offer certifications and education and learning from some of the top veterinarian experts in holistic wellness that are out there, right? So, but the real training comes into putting all this into practice with lots and lots of my own clients, and we work through helping to educate the owners based on what we know and guiding them to information that will help them make smarter, better, more helpful decisions and get out of this spiral of, let's try this because somebody told me to. Let's try this product and wasting our money. There are a lot of things that we can do to help you. And again, the biggest aha for me ever was seeing the relationship of behavior to wellness. And when I did that and started making these changes for my clients, the long-term effects of the behavior training that we were doing significantly improved. They were more durable, if you will. They sustained longer without relapse, without as much effort on the owner's part of sort of training upkeep. When we fixed the body and the mind and the spirit, the behaviors became more aligned. So I've mentioned this before. We're experiencing issues like never seen before. And why aren't they getting better? That's my big question. Why? What do we do about it? Why is this happening? What do we do about it? And all of these things have wellness. Taking steps to address the wellness of your dog will benefit these categories of issue. So if any of these resonate with you, fear, anxiety, aggression, reactivity, the energy is too high, too low, it doesn't match the breed, it doesn't match the age, they're over adrenalized, they have difficulty learning, or they forget what you taught them, there's a history of abuse or trauma, especially one that you're holding on to, right? We can move forward. If we're seeing skin health issues, digestive issues, reactions, bodily reactions, physical reactions to the foods and the things that we are putting into and onto the body, let's address it. Let's address and teach you about vaccination schedules and what to do to support the body when you have to have them. What are the effects of having your pet spayed or neutered really early? Friends, I am seeing some rescue groups do spay neuter as early as 8 weeks. That, to me, is bad news. I understand why, that they want to get dogs in their homes. It sort of means they don't trust the adoptee to get it done, or sorry, the adopter to get it done. But it's too early on a baby's body. And it's going to have a long-term effect. We have dogs with medical conditions, lots of them. And of course, all of our dogs are aging every single day. And so it's time. It's time for us to look at, are we doing everything that we can? So when you get on the phone with me, and I'm hoping that you will, it's one-on-one, about a half hour, you and I together. I'm going to teach you explicitly the steps that you need to think about for the nutritional value of food, the reduction of chemical load, how you do that. I'm going to share with you the vaccination requirements and what you need to know about those and what to do the day you go in for your vaccines and the days before and after. We're going to talk about hormone support and disruptions. The tricky part about this is for many of you, me included, our dogs are spayed and neutered. We would not know that they cannot reproduce. We wouldn't know that they had an inability to make puppies, right? So we wouldn't see that hormonal problem. But we might see other hormonal problems that we don't know we're seeing. And this is all around, issues with the adrenals or the thyroid. Big common issue, right? Emotional issues and resolution. This is one that I think goes under-attended to. We don't focus on the emotional support or the emotional needs of our dogs very much. We worry about them, we're sad, we tell the story of trauma and abuse, we tell the story and we laugh or we giggle about being in the bathtub with them because they're afraid of thunder. We medicate them because they're afraid of fireworks. We can do better. We can take action and start to release whatever those topics are and help our dogs reduce the emotional stress that's associated with that. And we don't have to necessarily drug them to do it. And I will show you how to exercise the dog's body, mind, and his spirit. Exercise is not a walk. It's not, because what happens for most of us is we take a stroll through the neighborhood. And that's not true. I don't mean it for everybody. Some of you are out doing power walking and rock on, right? But for a lot of people, it's this leisurely little walk and the dog is walking around sniffing and it's a potty break and then we're back in the house. That walk needs to have energy and intention and purpose and motivation and structure to it. And you need to be engaged with the dog during gameplay and exercise, not in your headset or on the phone or a conference call, because I've done it. I've been there. I had a job years ago that required me, I felt like, to do that, but I wasn't making the connection, that spiritual connection, that energetic connection with my dog at that time. It all matters. So I want to teach you how to support the whole dog, the very core of who he is. And when you leave the call with me, you will have those strategies. And this call is no cost to you. It's not a big sales pitch. I'm not going to say, hey, you got to buy, you got to buy. That's not me. That is not my style. But I will ask you, would you like to be part of the team? Would you like for me to be the coach that helps you put all these pieces together and become part of helping you refine the plan and the step-by-step strategy that you need to take action on? You have the ability to tell me no. You always do. What I hope is that you won't tell your dog no. You won't look at him and say, nope. So you can say no to me, but I don't want you to say no to him. My calendar does get very full. This offer of a free assessment, a free one-on-one with a tangible action plan for you, is a limited time only thing. When the calendar's full, it's full. And when the offering goes away, it's gone. So the worst thing that's going to happen is you'll spend time on the phone with me and you'll get a plan for you to follow, and you'll say no. You'll say, no, I don't want to do that. Right? The best thing that's going to happen is you will get specific information. Your dog may be healthier, live longer for it. You get a coach, you get a community, you get me. You're going to get a bonus that I haven't told anyone about yet. And your dog is going to say, thank you, Mama. I appreciate it. I love you for doing this. So today's the day, right? Don't wait. I don't want you to call me tomorrow or a couple of months from now and say, I wish I had listened to you then. I wish I had taken action. If you call me in the future, that's okay. I'm going to help you. I'm going to do the best I can at that time. But I know if we start now, we have a better shot at success for long-term wellness plans for your dog. So look at your dog. Is your answer going to him? Is your answer to him going to be, sorry, bud, not today. Not going to do this. Or is it going to be, hey, guess what I just did? I called Dana and I have got some great things that are going to help us help you be healthier. Right? I want to keep you around as long as possible. That's what we're telling them, right? That's what we're telling our dog is I want you to be here and I want you to be healthy, growing old. So take a minute. Hit the link below. It's going to pop up on your screen as a link that you can click. It'll be a very short form where you can say, hey, Dana, I want to talk to you. And that will lead you to a request to get on my schedule. You can pick the time, and then I will call you, and you and I will chat one-on-one about your dog. So I wish somebody had done this for me, right? I was in that situation of thinking I was doing everything great and literally was doing the best that I knew how. And I wound up seeing my dogs go at ages that were way too early. I lost a Great Dane at 6 years of age to dilated cardiomyopathy. He collapsed in front of me one night. He was healthy until he was not. And he collapsed in front of me one night. Thank God I was home and he wasn't there suffering all by himself. I picked him up by myself. He was 165 pounds. I picked him up and carried him to the car to get him to the evet. And the prognosis was not good. He did come home a couple of days later, but he was only with me for 2 weeks, and then he was gone. The prognosis for dilated cardiomyopathy, once diagnosed, is only about 6 months. And again, he was healthy until he wasn't. And what I know now is the breed is susceptible to that disease. The breed is susceptible to heart problems. Could I have saved him? Could I have extended his life? Had I done something for him much earlier? I truly believe that the answer to that is yes. That if I had supported his heart through better nutrition, appropriate supplementation, appropriate exercise, that we might have had a longer time with him. Only God knows the answer to that for sure. But I believe I should have and could have done more had I been better educated about that. And so that's kind of haunting to me. It puts me on a path today of saying, when I know better, I'll do better. And that I'm not going to just accept that the breed's prone to that. I'm not going to accept that 50% of the dogs in our lives are going to have cancer. I'm going to fight back hard, and I'm going to try to teach my clients how to fight back hard too. Again, only the man upstairs is in charge of when our dogs leave us or when we leave this earth. But in the meanwhile, I want us to try to take as many steps, as many advantages as we can to do better with what's going into and onto their bodies, and how we help them deal with all of those factors and all of the things that we do to support the mind, body, and spirit of our dog. So I hope you will reach out. I hope you and I have an opportunity to chat by phone in the very near future. And with that, I'll just say to all of you, be well, and I hope your dogs stay well.